Peter Schiff Show.
This is Peter Schiff here at SchiffRadio.com. Joining the program now is Kelly DePhillips. And I was going to try to catch up with Kelly on my road trip last week, but just didn't have the time to swing through her town. But she has been in the media recently. She was interviewed, I think, by Fox and maybe one of the another network about her small businesses and her trials and tribulations in trying to prepare for implementation of Obamacare. She's actually based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kari, welcome to the Peter Schiff Show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, sorry I couldn't meet you in Pittsburgh that day, but now I'm glad we got you on the phone. So tell me a little bit about your business and its growth prospects.
Okay, so we are a PR company that focuses on social media marketing and web content writing. And we started in 2010. And since then, our business has about tripled every single year. And actually, this year, we're on track to quadruple in size from our
no doubt thanks to the thanks to the efforts of Obama, because you didn't build that business, he did.
I did not.
Well as,
right. I had help, from what I understand.
Yeah. So you can thank the taxpayers, the welfare recipients, people working for the government, your fifth grade teacher, for your success. But how many employees do you have now?
So right now we don't have any. All of the people who work for us
congratulations.
are contractors, and it was really in anticipation of Obamacare. It's been on the horizon for a while now. And it's not like I'm trying to be the Grinch who steals healthcare here. I'm trying to maintain the ability to negotiate contracts with the people who work for me and give them the compensation that works best for them. So a lot of the people who work for me right now are under the age of 30 and are in a ton of student loan debt. And when you have to regularly meet just outrageous student loan payments on a monthly basis, oftentimes you'd rather have cash than extra health insurance coverage that you might not use. So Obamacare is forcing all of these young people into the system, and I think it's going to impact their take-home pay. And I think
it's actually not forcing them. It's not forcing them into the system. As long as they work for a company with fewer than 50 employees, they're off the hook, because they can just pay the tiny little penalty, $95 a year. And if they ever get sick, well, now they can buy health insurance after the fact. So it's actually a huge bonanza for young people, because there are some young people now that might be buying health insurance just in case. They don't have to do that anymore. Obama's given them a free ticket to not have to buy it. The only problem is if you do work for a large company, you might be forced to. So as long as you have fewer than 50 employees, and you don't even have any yet. But let me ask you, how are you able to get around some of the labor laws? And because when a lot of times, in order to be an independent contractor, you really have to, there's a lot of tests for an independent contractor, and they can't work exclusively for you. They can't use your space, they can't use your equipment, you can't set their hours. I mean, they truly have to be totally independent in order to meet the test of independent contractor.
With the work that we do, that's entirely possible. So we made an office available. In case anybody wanted to come in and use it for the free internet. We never had required office hours. In fact, I haven't seen our editor. Our main editor lives less than 10 miles away from me, and I haven't seen him in over a year. So we're good to go on that.
How many independent contractors do you have?
About 24 right now.
So you got about 20. So you got about 24. But so how is Obamacare then affecting you if you've got 0 employees? How is this? Although, is that the reason that you're not hiring?
That's exactly the reason. We had been considering shifting our business model because there's a lot of problems with independent contractors. Obviously, deadlines become an issue. Sometimes the quality of work suffers. In a lot of ways, it's easier to control the output when you're in an office, everyone's together, and you have more control that way. Right now, we have less control, and I have to have more oversight just in terms of editing, checking emails before they go out. And it would be easier for us and probably better for us as a business to switch everyone over to a full-time employment status. But again, because of our growth, we're concerned that if we do that, we're going to have to make some very tough choices in the next year.
Yeah, I mean, do you anticipate, at the rate you're growing, would you anticipate having more than 50 independent contractors at some point?
Yeah, definitely within the next 5 years.
All right. And so you're already planning ahead. You would love to be hiring more people and putting them on payroll, but your biggest obstacle is you're worried about the regulatory costs that would be imposed on you as a small business owner, in particular from Obamacare, but also I'm sure there are other regulatory burdens that you're looking to escape by not hiring people.
Yes.
Yeah, and obviously, as a business person, you would rather, all else being equal, if you could just make decisions strictly on what's best for you and what would maximize your profits, you would hire people, correct?
Yes. Yes.
But the reason you're not is because of the government. You know, I wish Obama could understand this. But, you know, one thing I'm looking at your guest pack, and I got a question because it hits home and it affects me. And this is going to be new information for me. But I'm reading that you were told by your attorneys, because you were thinking about maybe having two separate businesses so that neither business would employ 50 people. And
right.
The lawyers told you that you couldn't do that, that if two businesses had the same owner, that you would have to add up the employees of both businesses?
Not only that, but if my husband were to start his own business, it goes by household. So if he had 25 employees and I have 25 employees, between the two of us, as a household...
You got to be kidding me.
No, I kid
you got to
not.
be kidding.
I hope that beggar family
so in other...
has the entrepreneurial spirit, because they're going to be limited to 2 employees each.
Well, but not if you get a divorce, right? If you get divorced, then you can each have 50?
This is true, yes.
But I don't understand this. What if I've got two businesses? I've got a restaurant and I've got a car wash. All right? They're totally unrelated.
Does not matter.
Even if they're not related? So you're telling me, like, I own Euro Pacific Precious Metals, right? And Euro Pacific Precious Metals probably has only 15 employees, let's say. Right? I didn't think I had to provide any health insurance there. But you're telling me I have to because Euro Pacific Capital, one of my other businesses, has over 100 employees, that now I have to provide insurance at my metals company?
Yes. Yes, from what I understand,
now,
absolutely.
Also, I have a partner. I'm not the sole owner of the metals company. I wonder, so what if you own 100% of one business, but let's say you own 50% of another business? Does the other business... Yeah.
That was another question that we had. So with the Content Factory, I'm 50-50 with my business partner, Joan Barrett. She's not married, but if I got married and my husband, back to the 25 employee situation, she would be impacted by that because of our...
No, but I'm saying if you own half of a business, right, and I own 100% of another business or 70%, does any business I have an interest in then fall into the 50 employees?
I'm not sure, but from what I understand,
I'm wondering, hey, what if somebody does this? What if somebody buys a share of stock of IBM? Well, now they're a 1/1,000,000th of an owner, right, of IBM that has lots of employees. So does that mean if I got a lemonade stand with one employee, I got to cover my one employee because I'm part owner of IBM?
It's a valid question. I don't know the answer to it, but it's worth asking.
Well, and the whole thing is, why should employers, it's hard enough to run a business and to make a profit and to keep all the balls in the air, to take all the risks, to juggle all this stuff, but then have to have your energy and so much of your focus being diverted to how to survive a maze of government regulations and how can I grow this business without stepping into all these government landmines.
And there are a lot of them. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that, but there are a lot of them. And it's not cheap or easy to run a small business.
Oh, yeah, and I want to find out. I'm going to call up. I want to find out if this law is going to impact my metals business, because if it is, that's another reason to take that entire business and move it out of the country. Because maybe if I move it offshore, then it won't count. So it just and then Obama's like, gee, why is all this outsourcing? We have to stop all the outsourcing. Why do businesses outsource? To escape taxes and regulation. That is the main reason that they do it. and then the government complains. They impose all these burdensome regulations and taxes, and then when small businessmen respond by leaving the country because they don't want to deal with it, well, then they cry that they're unpatriotic. This is terrible. They look at how the president wants to jump all over Mitt Romney, saying, well, you outsourced. Well, hey, what do you expect? That's what you have to do.
Right.
I'm sure
Yeah,
you probably hire maybe some temp agencies or you might be able to outsource a lot of the programming work that is being done. Maybe you can just use independent contractors in India.
I could. I probably wouldn't, given my experience. But, people respond to incentives, and we have to ask ourselves with these policies, what are we incentivizing? And it's not small business growth. And right now, that's what the economy needs.
Oh yeah, in fact, I've got this clip. I'm going to play at some point in the show. But Obama is claiming that he's cut taxes, I don't know, like 20 or 40, 30 times for small businesses since he's been president. I don't remember a single tax cut. Do you? I mean, what tax cuts are you talking about?
My business partner and I were just talking about that because we had expected something. I mean, anything really. I can't think of one tax credit that we were able to get.
Yeah, but of course, none of the tax cuts mean anything. When you run deficits of $1 trillion a year, over $1 trillion, nobody's taxes are being cut because we all have to pay for these deficits. Even if you cut taxes, but if you keep spending, that's a tax increase because the spending has to be paid for by the same people that you're claiming you gave a tax cut. Kari, one thing that I wanted to point out that you mentioned, this is the unintended consequences of government actions on this idea that the 50 employee minimum applies to multiple businesses that are owned by members of a household. Let's assume I got a business and I got 49 employees, and my wife wants to start a new business, and she needs to hire one employee to make it work. Well, now that business faces this huge barrier because now just to hire one person, she's got to set up this whole healthcare plan and cover that one person. But more importantly, I've now got to supply insurance to my 49 employees. That could cost a ton of money. In fact, the barriers might be so great that it is basically impossible for my entrepreneurial wife to start a business at all. And so she just needs to stay at home or just take a job someplace else. But who knows? Maybe the business she would have started might have grown to 50, 100, 1,000 employees. But we'll never know because it never gets off the ground because of the barriers to entry that Obamacare created. Right.
And to be clear, the average cost of healthcare per employee in 2012 is over $10,000. And it's estimated that post-Obamacare, that cost is going to rise anywhere from 19 to 30%. So it's not something
you know what?
Be affordable
Those estimates are way wrong. I think that healthcare premiums could double or triple because of Obamacare. Because what's going to happen is so many young, healthy people are going to stop buying insurance because there's no reason to, because the penalty is so low for not buying it. And so those companies that are forced to provide insurance, it's going to cost a fortune. And, of course, the company doesn't provide it. They simply provide insurance instead of a paycheck, instead of cash. And so much money is going to be diverted to health insurance. If you want to get a job for most companies, that's pretty much going to be your entire pay package. You're going to get health benefits and pretty much not much else. You're just going to be working to pay for your health care. How are you going to get anything else? Well, hey, I guess that's life in the new America.
Yeah, as long as you're eating cat food, you have something to eat, but you can go to the hospital for free. So win-win.
Yeah, and you can go there for free. The quality of medical care that you may or may not receive, well, that's up for debate. Now, I want to also talk about your pending move maybe to New Hampshire. So what's going on in Pennsylvania that is making you consider, picking up your, and moving to New Hampshire?
For me, it's less about what's going on in Pennsylvania and more about what's not going on in New Hampshire. So by moving to New Hampshire, I'll save 3% in sales tax, state income tax, and 1% in Pittsburgh income tax. I have to talk to accountants.
So that's 4%. That's 4%. That's
Right.
4% total.
Right. So 4% off of the top for both my husband and I. So that alone pays for, a vacation almost anywhere we want to go. There's also no state sales tax, so we're looking at replacing our car, and we're waiting to make that decision until after we're in New Hampshire so that we won't have to pay 7% or 5% or whatever the car sales tax is out here.
Plus, it's more important is not just that you have an income tax in Pennsylvania, but the direction. See, I think they just recently raised the income tax in Pennsylvania. And, once they raise it, that's not the end. They're going to do it a few more times because they're trying to solve their economic problems by raising taxes. That never works. The problems get worse. And so the tax hikes and so eventually the tax is not going to be 4%. It'll be 6%, 8%, 9%. I mean, they're about to raise it up to 13% in California. Right? They keep pushing the envelope because tax hikes don't work. That's what's going on in Connecticut right now. They just raised the tax to 6 3/4. It was, I think, 4 or 4.5. It used to be 0. And then they keep raising it, and we never solve the budgetary problems that are the catalyst for the increase. The problems get worse, and so the increases keep coming.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
are there
scary, and there are so many. It seems like fees and taxes just keep piling up and piling up. And really, I'm going to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project to help escape from some of that. New Hampshire is the freest state in the country in terms of personal liberties, and the tax story is obviously very compelling. And there's a lot of interesting things going on in New Hampshire. Jury nullification just passed.
Oh yeah, that was phenomenal that they passed that. I mean, that could also mean that could make it easier for people in New Hampshire just to stop paying their federal income taxes because they have to try them in New Hampshire in a federal court, but the law applies to federal courts as well as state courts. So people could just say, look, we don't like the taxes. We think they're too high. We think they're unconstitutional, and we're just not going to convict somebody of tax evasion in our state, and then the government can't collect.
Well, some people are already not paying their taxes. And another thing that's interesting now is Bitcoin. So I'm curious to see how, I guess, the underground economy works with Bitcoin, because I think as the government keeps piling on more taxes and fees, it's going to drive more people into the underground economy.
Well, ultimately, people are going to have to go into the underground economy by necessity, because if you want anything, that's where you're going to get it. I think ultimately we're headed for runaway inflation, price controls, which means shortages of a lot of basic food items, energy. Goods are going to be in short supply. And there's going to be rationing. And if people want things, they might have to do it illegally on the black market. And of course, on the black market, they're probably not going to accept, your Federal Reserve notes. They might want gold or silver. Who knows? They might want some other foreign currency. Maybe we'll be using Canadian dollars on the black market. I don't know. But I think a lot of these things are coming, and you're right. I mean, New Hampshire is probably better suited for that because you've got more people that are going to be on the forefront of figuring out how to survive in, that type of society.
Yeah, absolutely. Over 1,000 people have already moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. And I'm not the only entrepreneur who's making the jump.
Yeah. There's a guy that works for my company that moved up there. Now he's an independent contractor for me. But yeah, he moved up to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. I mean, I considered going to New Hampshire way back when, but it was just a little far from people I knew and relatives in the New York, Connecticut area. So I'm in Connecticut. But I wish we had the Massachusetts mentality here in Connecticut. In fact, if we did, you never know. I might have been elected U.S. Senator. But Kari, I appreciate your struggle. I wish you the best, and I thank you for coming on the Peter Schiff Show. Everybody else, Hour 2 is coming up, so stick around.
The Peter Schiff Show.